to Vanadium. Saturday, April 25th, 2020. COVID era continues, and I am bringing some literary relief today, as I very much enjoyed reading to you all yesterday. Still look forward to we're going to have an audible version of the book that's going to come out. My brother is doing a real fantastic actor's reading of this material, so it's going to be, and so he's going to do my other books too. So he's a really good voice actor, and he's accomplished has a bunch of different cool projects under his belt. And so I'm really excited to see what he does with it, but this is just something I'm kind of doing for the audience. So I have Break the Bastion here, my paperback, and I'm going to read chapter 2 today. And chapter 2 is entitled, Our Name is Strix. 2 days later, Morgan spotted the same strange man when he arrived home from school. The same limo rolled its windows down, and the same triangle face appeared from the night before. The old man was dressed in a black business suit and had 4 other men with him. When Morgan got off the bus, the man got out of the car and started to walk to the front door. 4 other, younger, and much larger men followed behind the elderly gentleman. The burliest of the group carried an odd container, a polished metal box, about as large as a toolbox, made of the same gray titanium as the Bastion. "You're home a bit early, Morgan," said the old man. His face looked like a drooping triangle, with a broad forehead and a pointy chin that sagged like a rooster's. His eyes seemed too wide, showing too much white. "What's this about?" Morgan asked. "Am I in trouble?" "Of course not," the old man beamed. "We're here to speak to you and your father, I'm afraid, about something. We believe you'll find it a very exciting opportunity." "I don't think he's going to be very happy to see you again," Morgan answered. "We were hoping," said the man in a slow, friendly tone, "to speak to your father first and explain last evening." He stopped, saying, "Well, since we've run into each other already, I should introduce myself. I'm Dr. or Mr. or whatever Laurence. You may call me Blaise." "Blaise Laurence," Morgan smiled. "Sure. Yeah, right. Definitely give my dad that story when you see him. He's into history." "History is the story of ghosts," said the old man. "I'm fairly certain I'm still alive." He smiled. "But then again, who knows? I could be a ghost." Killian Battle finally noticed the visitors outside. He came to the doorway with his arms crossed over his chest. "What the hell were you doing outside my house last night?" he shouted. "What the hell are you doing out here now?" The old man's face went blank. Then his mouth sprung into an unconvincing, almost threatening smile. Without a word, he nodded to one of his 4 associates, who handed Killian a black business card. "Bullshit," said Killian, throwing the card on the ground. The old man didn't respond, but one of his assistants did. "This isn't bullshit, Mr. Battle," said the middle-aged assistant, looking gravely serious. "This is Blaise Laurence, and he's asking for your family's assistance." The burly man held up the titanium box. "Laurence alloy," he said. "You work pump 7 in section 41A in the wall. You know no one can forge this alloy. You know no one can cut it from the wall. You know that very, very few men have access to this material. You know that, Mr. Battle. He is Blaise Laurence. Now, may we please come inside?" Killian considered the proposition before quickly quietly stepping out of the way and waving him in with his hand. He told the men, "I better get an explanation why Blaise Laurence was standing outside my house in the middle of the night." "Forgive us for that," said the middle-aged assistant, who seemed to be Laurence's chief. "You see," he went on, "my employer has been searching the entire district for the right group of children." "Does the good doctor here talk for himself?" asked Killian while he stared at Laurence. "I'm afraid not," answered his assistant. "We're where it may seem peculiar, but please be understanding." "Why the hell am I not good enough for Blaise Laurence to talk to?" asked Killian. "Let's just say it's one of the doctor's idiosyncrasies," said the assistant to the left. We ask that you be understanding for the time being. So you're telling me this is really Blaise Laurence? Asked Killian. I mean, you look pretty old, but shouldn't you be a corpse by now? I've heard rumors of you being dead for years now. He looked Laurence right in the eye, but the old man just stared back at like a reflection. Fine, he went on. Don't talk to me. Our employer takes very good care of himself, said the other assistant. How is that possible? Morgan finally spoke up. Blaise Laurence designed the Bastion 75 years ago. That means he would have to be over 100 years old. You look old, but not that old. Blaise Laurence smiled and laughed genuinely. It's technology, my boy, just technology. So you'll talk to my son, but not a word to me, Killian asked him. Laurence just looked at him while his assistant responded. Please excuse our employer's unconventional behavior. He doesn't speak to adults. Killian had reached the end of what little patience he had. His eyes were angry and his arms were wrapped over his chest. Fine, he said, but I better hear someone explain to me what the hell you were doing here. And, he added, sitting forward in his seat, what you were doing watching my house last night. You better answer that one quick. It's not in your best interest to be difficult with us, reminded one of the assistants. Perhaps you should calm down, Mr. Battle. We are here with an important matter. The chief assistant chimed in, saying, Our employer is going to offer your family a lucrative opportunity. I think you really should hear us out. After all, he added, we don't want to have to speak with your supervisor at work. Killian stood up. What the hell do you mean, speak to my supervisor? Mr. Davenport? Stephen Davenport? That's his name, said the assistant. Is that correct? Hearing his boss's name settled Killian down. He nodded and took his seat. I don't want you to do that, he said. Of course you don't. We don't want that. All we would like is to make you an offer. What happens if I turn the offer down? Asked Killian. Well, that wouldn't be a very good idea, said the assistant with a grin. Not a very good idea at all. We're prepared to offer you and your family more than twice your current wage, said the middle-aged man, adjusting his glasses, for simply allowing your son to be part of an experiment. Sure, answered Killian quickly. The boy's not busy. He can help you all you want with your experiment. He gave Morgan a snide sideways glance, saying, not like he has any friends keeping him busy. Blaise Laurence stared at Morgan, studying the boy like a rare orchid. Keeping his eyes fixed on him, the old man took the mysterious titanium box from his assistant. What's in there? Interrupted Killian. Laurence ignored him and took a step toward Morgan, leaning over until he was eye to eye with the boy. In here, he told Morgan, is the greatest thing I've ever invented. In fact, if I'm not feigning humility, it's the greatest invention in human history. Greater than fire, even. Better than the Bastion? Asked Morgan. Oh yes, Laurence answered. There is no competition. What I'm going to show you contains the world's most powerful, next-generation, artificially intelligent computer system. What's it for? Asked Morgan. Why, it's for you, smiled Blaise Laurence. It's all yours. Laurence unlatched the top of the box, then lowered his hand in to remove whatever it was. Killian interrupted again, saying, This seems fishy to me. Why would you choose this little bastard? Aren't there super genius kids out there who would be better? Laurence, who seemed to be reaching the end of his patience, refused to even look at Killian. He whispered to Morgan as though it was just the two of them in the room, telling the boy, Don't ever listen to a word this fool says, do you ever? Hey, argued Killian, my son will listen to what I have to say. Don't call me a fool in my own house. Just then, Laurence pulled his hand out of the titanium case. Morgan Battle, he said. Meet Strix. The robotic owl was about the size of a grapefruit, with soft, flexible crystals for feathers. It appeared to be designed after a screech owl, with a round, stocky body and a very little neck. His face was all eyes. Strix's feathers felt like plush plastic. When Morgan grazed his fingers over, they beamed different colors and twinkled with electronic life. Strix could shimmy around like a penguin, but there was no chance of flight. All the circuitry, light-emitting diodes, and microprocessors seemed to go all to Strix's head. His face and ears could turn his face from sweet to savage with just a flick of some motors. The owl's eyes, about the size of quarters, were the most fascinating feature. They moved over everything, turning from pinholes to black holes, and frequently flashed colors and even pictures. "It's a toy owl," Morgan said, sounding almost disappointed. The toy's LED eyes scanned around the room, stopping on Blaise Laurence, then Killian, then finally settled on Morgan. Strix flicked its mechanical eyelids softly and made something like a smile out of its animatronic beak. "I thought you said something about an experiment," said Killian. "The kid's 14. He's a little old for stuffed toys." Laurence lowered his voice, nearly whispering to Morgan. "It's not a toy by any stretch of the imagination," he told him. "Strix is going to change the world." The owl's eyes, formed by a matrix of colorful LED lights, held on to Morgan's face. The owl's expression communicated a clear affection, as though it couldn't be happier to be with Morgan, its rightful owner now. "This doesn't make a damn bit of sense," Killian told Laurence. "You're going to pay me just to have my son play with a toy? Something isn't right about this." Looking for an explanation, he crossed his arms over his chest and stood over Laurence. The chief assistant told him, "We said before, this is not a toy. This is an experiment." "What kind of experiment?" asked Killian. "A psychological one," said the assistant. "We're very interested in the mental health of children growing up near the Bastion. Children with difficult backgrounds." "What's difficult about my son's background?" asked Killian. Laurence's assistant smiled at the question, saying, "Forgive my choice of words. It's just that, growing up in the very shadow of the Bastion, no mother and a father struggling to keep his family going." "Nobody's struggling," argued Killian. "We apologize," said the assistant. "We have no desire to insult you or your family. We'll leave it at this. Based on a number of statistics, we think your son would be a fantastic subject. A human to test the system. Children are ideal for a number of reasons." "When do I get paid?" "You'll find half of the money already in your account. The other half you'll receive at the conclusion of the experiment." Laurence stood up and indicated to his associates it was time to leave. He made no gesture of goodbye and offered no handshake to Killian. To Morgan, the old man flashed a wide smile. Then Laurence and his entourage started out the front door. Morgan followed them out while his father hovered at the door. Still holding Strix the owl, he stopped Blaise Laurence, telling him, "I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with this." "Of course you don't. How would you?" Morgan was confused and just stared at him. "Listen," Laurence relented. "If you have any questions, just ask." He looked down at the electronic owl. Then he took a step toward Morgan and spoke softly. "My boy," he went on, "you can ask your new friend literally anything in the world. That's how they'll learn from you. That's how you'll learn from them." "Them?" Blaise Laurence just grinned without answering. He stepped into the back seat of his limo. Just before the car pulled away, a bit of salty spray shot over the top of Bastion, sending a salty drizzle over everything. Chapter 2. All right. So, thank you all for listening. That was it seems to take about 15 minutes to get through a chapter. All right. We'll see. And I have chapter 3 coming very, very soon. And I hope I didn't butcher the reading too much. I even felt like I got a little better than I did yesterday. So, anyway, thank you for joining me on Vanadium today. We've been in the studio, Vanadium Literary Hour, Break the Bastion, 2016 novel. Thank you all very much, and be safe and stay strong.